Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. Today I'm joining you in Loot Ghoulhide, and the reason why I'm joining you in Loot Ghoulhide is because we're going over gloves that are based around undead, and these are the gloves known as the Gravepalms. The Gravepalm Sharkskin gloves is gloves that are specifically revolving around undead damage and murdering of the undead. So let's go over these together, and we will compare them versus a similar pair of gloves as we go along. So right off the bat, you'll see that they have 112 defense, which is fairly nice, with a a strength requirement of only 20, which is relatively low, and a level requirement of 32. They have a pretty massive bonus to undead of 200%, but the unfortunate thing about them is they do vary by 100%, which means that you can find these as low as 100 and as high as 200% damage to undead. They also have 200 to attack rating with the same 100 variable of 100 to 200 to attack rating, which is freaking ridiculous. That means that a lot of the times you will find these, they will not be in good shape like you see mine right here. We also have a defense bonus of 140 to 180%, another variable of 40%, and plus 10 strength and plus 10 energy, which means you're going to get a pretty decent bonus to strength and a nice little bonus to your mana pool as well. Now, these particular gloves have a stiff opposition, which is the Ghoulhide Vambracers. Ghoulhide Vambracers also have 198% damage to undead, based on character level. Now, the interesting thing about the Ghoulhides is there's no variance in the amount of damage to undead except for your level, whereas the Gravepalms can have a higher percentage damage to undead than the Ghoulhides at a lower level. So if you were to find Ghoulhides and you were a high level character, chances are Ghoulhides would be better. If you are a low level character and you find Gravepalms, obviously Gravepalms are going to be better, because the low level requirement as well as the high percent damage to undead on these kind of trumps the high level requirement and low percentage on undead on these. Now, the Gravepalms do not have the 5% mana steal on them. And this is a rather large downside. 5% mana steal on gauntlets is actually pretty darn sweet, and I think a lot of people will really like that 5% mana steal. Now, because Gravepalms are nightmare difficulty item, or exceptional, they can be upgraded. So let's compare them to the Ghoulhides once we've upgraded them to the next tier. So to do this, we are going to need a Lem Rune, a Co Rune, and a Perfect Diamond. And let's see here. We are at 112 defense, 20 strength, level 32, to 159 defense, 50 strength, and level 54. So now they are really close to the Ghoulhide Vambracers. They have a little less of defense. They have no mana steal, and the strength requirement is far less. So these gloves are actually pretty nice if you can find them in the right rolls. Unfortunately for the Gravepalm, chances are you're probably not going to find them with the right rolls. Most of the time when you find Gravepalms, they're going to be more like 146 undead, 102 attack rating to undead, 163% enhanced defense, things like that. So in general, I think Ghoulhides tend to win. And this is the thing about Ghoulhides, is that they are very static in the way that they roll, because that based on character level increases as you level up your character, and usually when you're wearing these, you're a higher level character who is magic finding, like Pindleskin or things like that. These can actually be far superior gloves. Now, don't get me wrong, if you find a pair of Gravepalms at level 32, which is the level that these particular gloves are capable of being worn, they're probably going to come in pretty handy in Act 2 Nightmare as you roll through the undead zones. However, because they are specifically undead damage and nothing else, they're not going to be that effective in non-undead zones and versus non-undead monsters. Specifically, the zones that I can think of right off the top of my head are places like Canyon of the Magi in the Tal Rasha's tombs, Halls of the Dead. Chaos Sanctuary has a lot of undead monsters. And when you're not in a zone that has tons of undead monsters, just take them off and move on to something else. Arcane Sanctuary has a lot of undead monsters as well. Now, these particular gloves are not super difficult to find, and let me go over that real quick as well. So we're going to go over the Gravepalms. And we're going to assume we have about 150% magic find, which I feel like is a pretty decent amount that most people can agree with. It is easy enough to obtain. So the Cow King in Nightmare difficulty, the Cow King in Hell, Neelathak in Nightmare, Summoner in Nightmare, Radamant in Nightmare, Neelathak in Nightmare, Summoner in Hell, Neelathak in Hell, Radamant in Hell, Countess in Hell, Bone Ash in Nightmare difficulty, all have pretty decent chances. And as for bosses, Mephisto, Diablo, Baal, and Dariel all have pretty good chances in Nightmare difficulty. Mephisto in Hell has a pretty good chance as well. And from what I'm looking at here, the best non-quest is Andariel in Nightmare difficulty. So if you farm Andariel in Nightmare difficulty enough times, you should see a pair of Gravepalms drop. She is a little bit difficult to farm. Usually people with teleport tend to do her because it's easier for them to get to her. Mephisto in Nightmare difficulty is also not bad, and he's a little bit easier. And Diablo in Nightmare difficulty doesn't have a too bad of a drop chance either at 1 in 1,000. So when it comes to Gravepalms, I mean, what do you use them for specifically? Say you have a pair just sitting in your stash. Well, using them on a melee or ranged character who is attacking Pendleskin or farming Pendleskin over and over again is actually a pretty good way to use these. I would put them on when I'm running through Chaos Sanctuary. I could also put them on when I'm running through the Tombs, which is not bad. And to give you an idea of how much damage 200% damage to undead is, the easiest way that you can do this is to summon yourself a Might Mercenary in Nightmare difficulty. So I can't do that here. I'm going to have to go to Nightmare. And Damage to Undead functions very similarly to the way that a Might Aura works. It's called Off-Weapon ED. And let's say, for instance, I am using the Sword Guard Colossus Blade. And I've got my little Might Merc. Let's see here. So here we go. Durga has 220% damage. Now, for him to proc his damage, he does have to hit things. So let me go get his damage procced real quick. But before we do that, I want you to see how much damage I'm doing. 654 to 1,720 with a Whirlwind. And let's throw Berserk up there too. So 1,445 to 3,802. And I just want him to proc his ability. I don't need multiple monsters here. And once he procs his ability, you will see that my damage goes up by a rather exacting amount. I don't know. I've never understood why mercenaries have to attack to turn their aura on. It's always been something that's kind of bothered me. I don't know why they just don't have it on. But they do actually have to like get in there and dish out some damage to monsters before their aura turns on, and it's quite silly. Let me get a easier monster, shall I? It could also be because he's not wielding a weapon. Let me go grab him a weapon real quick, and I'll come right back. Finally. I swear it took me like 30 minutes to get him to turn his aura on. So as you can see, now that I have the Might Aura underneath my feet, my little feetsies there, a little Might Aura, now I am at 880 to 2,317, 1,671 to 4,398. And it literally took me so long that I forgot what my damage was without the aura on. But I hope that gives you a better idea of how much damage the Gravepalms are giving you, because it is extremely similar. It is actually almost identical to the way that Might Aura increases your damage, except it is only versus undead monsters. And this particular item is interesting, and I hope that if you're interested in finding this item, you find it, because it does have some rather niche uses. Unfortunately, because it is a very PVM very player versus monster item. It doesn't really have a lot of uses outside of player versus monster. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when they are on murderous undead items. And keep watching.